boys and girls, children of all ages. It is me, Dukect, here with you live this Wednesday evening, and I hope you are doing well. I hope you are doing I hope you're doing well on this Wednesday evening, and having a good time talking, having a good time and everything else. I'm feeling good. I've just watching the Nats game and everything. Just sitting here and watching it. Hopefully they're, I hope they can finally do the close thing. They're up by 2 runs. It's 2-0. Nats are up. They won the first game earlier, and I hope they can actually, win this one. All right, and okay, let's see. It's strike there. I'll probably give a little bit of play-by-play later on, but let's see. And pop up out. Okay. Now let's talk about apathy. Apathy has been the one thing I've been, apathy, and it's been around for a while in the wrestling community and such. It has been. It's been, the Apathetic Wrestling fan has been just, the stuff forums and, the stuff I've seen, Twitter, forums and stuff. In fact, this podcast, I was looking into and such was just, the one thing I was here, it was just, it's like, how are you feeling about this show? They don't really like this WWE. They feel just, not just that, but I mean, look at all of the stuff that's around us. I mean, you look what Ring of Honor is doing. People are just like, and then I feel what Ring of Honor is doing, especially after the G1 Supercard show. And people feel like after that, they feel just so, they just like, what is Ring of Honor doing? You have, Enzo and Caster, we're going to be there, but not going to be there. You just have Matt Taven win the championship because reasons. And it just, a lot of the people just feel they didn't like it. They don't like the shows and such. They feel that they're tired. They're tired of just the same malaise, and not just malaise, but just like nothing has really. Well, they feel like, man, the show has not really been that good. The show has been pretty terrible. It's like they just look at it and they say like, here it is. It says right here. My official plan board. So this is right here. My wrestling fandom is pretty much dying. And people who've been watching, they have been watching since like the Attitude Era. They watched since the old 80s stuff. They feel just burnt out. And I'll put the link in the description of where I found this on the official fan pro wrestling boards. And to me, people have been looking at this. They feel like, what's going on? They don't really have a connection with the show. And why is that? It's a mixture of a lot of things. I mean, you look at what's going on, the previous Saudi Arabia show, that contract. People just feel like, I know wrestling's scummy, but people are just like, I can't deal with that anymore. They can't deal with that type of stuff, and they just stop watching because they're like, what's the dealing with Saudi Arabia and everything else, the political stuff. They can't deal with that, and they just stop watching, period. Another thing is that they, outside the politics thing, they feel like the show is just so, they just think it's too much. People say, oh, just watch the NXT 205, but that's like just too, it's too much. It's way too, I feel like it's the bubbles and everything. They feel like the wrestling bubbles in their NXT and 205 Live. That's nice and all, but they don't really matter to WWE. It's just like, okay, they're there. It's nice, but you can watch them separately. That's great. But if you try to watch all of it as a whole, you watch you try to watch like Raw, SmackDown, then you have like all the other pay-per-views, including say you watch other promotions and stuff. You get burnt out, and you just feel tired, and that is an effect. And another thing is you might look at NXT and such, but they don't like you don't like the content that is in NXT. You feel like there's no real characters and stuff. There's only one good character there is Dream, Velveteen Dream, and that's pretty much it. And that's one of the thing is a lot of people look at the reasons why they feel like it's wrestling has become so just seems so tiresome. There's no connection with the wrestlers from back in the day. There are no, I repeat, no strong characters. Who are the strong characters in WWE nowadays? I mean, everyone feels like he is a good wrestler. That's it. That's what it is. And I don't know about y'all, but I feel like that's limiting. That is really limiting to the fact that is just that there's no real characters. And I've been speaking about this for many, many years. For many, many years and such. It's about that there's no lack of characters. There's no one really talking about, who are these people? Why are they here? What is the point? I mean, wrestling's supposed to be wrestling is at its core to me is a giant comic book. It's fun. It's silly. And people want to make fun of the 24/7 championship and it looks like a hubcap and all that stuff. But what R-Truth and everyone else doing, it's hilarious and fun. I like seeing that stuff, and that to me shows me how wrestling used to be. It used to be fun. It used to be engaging. People getting stuff to do. Just, there is just no real, they feel like there's nothing going on with the main stuff. And what's the main stuff people are watching right now? What is the main stuff people are going in the main storylines are? With Shane McMahon being a douchebag. Great. And then McMahon is taking over the show, and it feels just tiresome. You have Seth Rollins pitting people with chairs, and such, and fighting against Baron Corbin. Who, I would say this, Corbin, even in his Applebee's suit and such, is trying. He's trying to at least know what they're trying to know what villains, trying to be a villain, trying to be like the heel and villain, even though supposedly Vince doesn't like that anymore, which is just so sad. It just seems like there is like this, there's no real good villains out there. And then that's another reason. I'll get to that a little bit later, but because ties into the lack of characters and such. Another issue of, I think, is that's plaguing the apathy is in wrestling right now is that the storylines are just, there's nothing there. There's nothing really connective and stuff. I mean, it was nice. I watched Kofi Kingston win the championship. That was the great journey, but there's nothing else there. They don't have another continue on the story. Same as Seth Rollins for that bit. There's no story. They can do the rise, but they can't do the continue on. I mean, they did this back in the night. I mean, heck, WCW did that as well. They fumbled a bit with Goldberg and everything else, but having that main event, which is stupid. But it just when he was WCW champion, I don't know why you can't do that. You put your title there on your main guy. Hogan and everything else there, but come on now. I mean, what's the point? Give him make Hogan. I don't know why they did that. Hogan's a big name, but the guy who beats him becomes a bigger name. Ugh. But that's just me. I don't know. But that's just another story for another time. But I think that's what you have to do when your guys win the championship. They should not be they shouldn't be feel like, okay, it's what's next with the next. What is next? What's next for them? They don't know what's next. That's something I think WWE is really lacking, and this forum right here, the entire wrestling fandom, is basically dying and such, which is something else is, but you know what? which is connected to this forum thread. I'll put the link there. It's like heels don't really work the crowd anymore. It's just they don't really talk to the crowd and stuff is. They don't do anything else. They don't treat the crowd like they, it's frustrating. And in fact, I think that who's talked about this back? It was 2006. It was like a video. Was Steve Corino? I don't know. Maybe it was. I can't. I need to find out who that was. Who basically did that type of. I need to. Who I want to know who it was. Yes, it was Steve Corino. It was from the mid 2000s. He had a dark tryout match. He had a WWE. I'll see if I find the video. I'll put it in the description as well. He had a dark match tryout WWE. He said that he was chastised after the match for working the crowd instead of working the hard cam. And it was a dark match. It was like basically a non-television match. It's just like they care so much for the hard cam. You work for the hard cam, not for the crowd, not for the audience. And that is another factor into it. It just feels like there's nothing there, And meanwhile, I see other for federations and other promotions, Impact Wrestling gets this. They do work the crowd. I wonder what AEW is going to do. Hopefully they're going to have that as well. They start working the crowd. They start doing that type of stuff, making the crowd engaged. WWE, for all of its stuff, they don't feel engaged. And that, to me, that fills up the wrestling apathy. There's no engagement. I mean, when's the last time you saw wrestling, if you watch anything in pro wrestling and such, is being engaged? Pro wrestling is meant to be an engaging sport, and there is no real engagement in WWE right now. What is making you feel, oh my gosh, what show is good? What wrestler is engaging you? A little drink of water. What is engaging you in WWE? What is it? Nothing. There's no engagement. Not for the live crowd. Not in for the people who watch it on television. It just feels bland and uninteresting. I just finished watching the Nats and Phillies and such. By the way, Nats won 2-0. Great game by Max Scherzer. He's that dude's awesome. Great game by him. And you felt the intensity. You felt that entire stuff there. And I'm like, why can't WWE at least have some of that? I know. I bet Rowdy C is like, you can make something. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying WWE has made that intensity, that situation, like made moments like that type of, oh my gosh, that's amazing type moments. They can. They have made those moments before. I've seen them do it. That you felt that connection. That like yes, that and like the sillier moments, the happy moments, all this type of stuff in around their company and such. And I know that this company, promotion and everything else has been not good. But Lucha Underground, I honestly wish if AEW is smart, I hope they crib some notes from that. I want them to crib notes from that because that to me is how you do sports entertainment. You make the characters, and by the way, they did all character and such. They built up these characters and wrestlers. They had good matches, great characters, and by the way, they did all of this in 1 hour. 1 hour. They got people, storylines, and characters over. And they didn't need to put the champion on every single week. And that, to me, shows that this company could do this again. I wish they could. I want them to do that. I mean, I really want WWE to really start putting in this work in. Because I believe they can. They have done this before. And And to me, it's either just being lazy or they're just being very obtuse and such. And it's frustrating because I've seen WWE has done this, and then you see why wrestling fans have just left in droves. They left. They're just there's nothing there. You know, there's no real people who are connecting with the audience, and that's sad. It's sad, and it's just I feel that I don't want to say Vince McMahon is evil, or like, oh, Vince McMahon, he ruined everything. It's just that's just a tired old take, and trust me, I mean there's a lot of other cogs in the machine, but Vince, I think there is at the end of the day, Vince McMahon does have some things to answer for in these storylines. More importantly, you look at some of the stuff, it seems like they're in a holding pattern. They're just in a holding pattern until Fox gets on SmackDown and such, which to me is stupid. You're not going to bring in people who are exciting and all this other stuff on SmackDown when you have nothing to really excite people for. You know? There's no excitement. I mean, I remember when Summer used to be. It used to be like, oh my gosh, people used to, I grew up watching WF and WCW. They got the highest ratings because kids and people like myself and old, like, hey, we're going to watch the wrestling and stuff. I can stay up and watch wrestling. I mean, and, watch their stuff for 2 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours. I was excited. I wanted to see what these characters and new wrestlers and everything else. Now, it's just, there's nothing there. And I know I've been saying this for a long time. Heck, I probably made other podcasts talking about it. I've made videos talking about it and such. Is that there are no real people here. It just seems like there's no real characters to connect people with. I mean, the only people I think that has connected to people and have most fun is R-Truth. R-Truth with his 24/7 championship shenanigans are more interesting and engaging than anything on the main roster right now. And that's a lower card belt. How screwed up that is that the 24/7 championship, a belt that is so small, like it doesn't mean anything as much and such, any other championship, is more interesting and more engaging than the Intercontinental Championship, the United States Championship, the both Raw and SmackDown tag titles, and both the main event championships on WWE and Universal Championships. How is that possible? And they say, well, maybe it's a new. No. Back in the day, I hate people say the hardcore title had its fun moments, but also people cared about the Intercontinental title. They cared about the WWE Championship. They cared about the World Heavyweight Championship. People cared about the tag team titles. People cared about the belts, man. They cared about the belts, and they cared about the people who held their championships as well. And I'm hopeful that when AEW starts to build up and such and have that, I hope they don't waste it. I hope they don't be the same like indie, like trying to be real. You don't need to be real. I know they said about, oh, what about this, that, like, oh, we want to have like a ranking system, which is fine. You want to be more sports-like, fine. You want to be WCW, fine. But I love characters. I love what wrestling has. It's this larger than life characters. These people who have these other personas. And these people who are so big and talented and interesting and stuff, and these weird, wacky storylines. Yeah, and once you have an era when you had like Rock, Stone Cold, hell, Batista and John Cena, compare them to Seth Rollins. I mean, come on, John Cena wipes the floor with and just does. Yeah, you just look at that, you're like, this is the next guy up, really. Just no, man. That's what it is. It's just this conveyor belt wrestling. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I feel pro wrestling has become: conveyor belts. We are in. It is a conveyor belt. There is no real type of no real or organic stuff there and such, and that's fine. You want to have a nice little thing. I think that's great. But to me, I do what I love. The best thing I do love, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I truly love is that is when you have that organic moments. I love when Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship. That felt real. That felt emotional. I was like, yes, the climb and story there. And here's the crazy thing about it. It was built up spontaneity. They didn't make this up. They were going to have, say, Kevin Owens be there. You're going to have someone else there, like this, that, the other. But no, because of Ali getting hurt, they said, let's do something. Let's shake things up. Let's put Kofi Kingston into this storyline. And I was invested. I was really invested in that storyline. And the way they did it, they had the New Day helping Kofi Kingston out. I'm like, friends, and I'm like, that is awesome. That is great. That's the way. It's like connection and have these people come together. I mean, that's what people love. People coming together and achieving a goal. And that's what. It's funny enough that they seem to be WWE. And the whole Vince McMahon said, we love to make movies. You know what the big movies are making right now? Superheroes and, superhero movies. People coming together and fighting a massive evil. Stuff like Shazam. And, I'm not going to spoil that because Shazam, the same thing happens. I'm not spoiling you how it happens. You should go see it first. Seriously, go watch Shazam. Avengers Endgame. Seriously. That's what it was. Everybody coming together to fight off Thanos and beat him up. Boom. That's the story. It took a team effort. That was it. That was the Avengers. That's like Justice League. That's all it is. Everyone coming together and beating, trying to fight off this type of fight off evil threats. There it is. That's all it is. I mean, why can't WWE get this? Why is WWE just so they lucked into it and they still don't know how to correct? They don't know how to wow, we got into it. They just sit there and say, we'll just do nothing afterwards. That to me shows me that WWE just does not get it. They don't get it, and I sadly I don't think they ever are going to get it. And once they do try to get it, they mess it up. And this brings the disappointment in. This brings in the disappointment, the failure. People are just angry, sad, and they're like, I don't want to watch and be a part of this anymore. I don't want to be here. I don't want to see my favorite wrestler go through all this stuff, and then what's next afterwards? They don't have anything else lined up. They should have stuff lined up. Worse, they just put them in there and just have them lose to Shane McMahon for whatever reason and say, oh, we'll do something else or do nothing. There's nothing there. Nothing. They don't do anything. They just lie around and have everyone beat. They just sit there in the holding pattern, and that's not a good way to people to really get engaged and such. And I hope that AEW, I hope that Impact Wrestling will when they do get that TV deal, which supposedly they might get. They don't know yet. I hope Ring of Honor, when they get their act together, I hope that New Japan Pro Wrestling, the more it gets more, expands and such, and goes into wrestling over here, or Joshi wrestlers in Japan as well. Everyone else can get this motion of just having the good guys win, bad guys they get built up, they win, and then you have another story, another build up afterwards. That, to me, is how you do these stories. That, to me, is wrestling used to be. You build something up, and then you build it up, you fight, you build it up, and then you move on. It should be that easy, but it just I don't get it. I don't get how it just seems like they just overthink themselves. And once you start to do that, well, you're done, man. You're done. And you can't really do anything else about that. I hope that's what my hope is, ladies and gentlemen, that, AEW, Impact, and all these other wrestlers, they will get it. They'll like, bam, they got it. But that's another thing here and there. Anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's a nice little quick podcast for you, like 30 minutes, and probably cut down shorter when I did my little editing and video stuff here. Thanks so much for watching, listening, and all that good stuff. This is Dukect here. Peace and love, and don't forget live streaming Thursday evening. I will be live streaming Xenoblade Chronicles. Hopefully the internet situation will be made sure everything will be fine. I already tried out Jade Empire. It worked clean. It was really good. So I might be doing more Xbox games in the future. And probably maybe a platformer, so it won't be as long as Xenoblade. Because Lord, this game is long, and it's a little too big for its britches. But hey, it's a JRPG. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're gonna be doing that for a while, doing a little more side quests. We're gonna find some things and hopefully get all the stuff there. And we'll be also tomorrow. I will try to get more footage for my next reviews, Shattered Dimensions. After that, I'll probably do some other stuff. So for the next Last View Standing, so it's gonna be more interesting stuff in the future. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, peace and love. I will see y'all when I see y'all later.